I am here today to talk about the journey of American homelessness and why every American deserves a safe and decent place to live. Believe it or not, most Americans used to have a place to live, and that may surprise some of you. I'm here to tell you today that that doesn't have to be a problem in America, and we can get back to a place where we were. And I believe someday that we will. Today we'll talk about three things: the history of homelessness, I'll share some personal stories, and you'll hear about some ways that we can solve the problem. But first, for some context. It's important in this talk to separate poverty and homelessness. Poverty is not new, but modern-day homelessness is. Poverty means the lack of material possessions or money. Homelessness is simply not having a home. You can live in poverty, but still not have a home. This country has always had a problem with poverty, and we've taken steps to try to address the problem, and we've largely failed. But even when people are poor, historically we found for individuals and families, it was important to have a roof over their head. In 1933, it's estimated that more than 1 million people were experiencing homelessness in America. The federal government responded. Jobs and affordable housing programs, Social Security, and later on the GI Bill. By the end of World War II in 1945, street homelessness was largely non-existent in America. And from the 1940s up until the 1970s, the federal government prioritized housing as a basic infrastructure of our society. Saying that, it wasn't until the 1980s that we started to see people on the streets, sleeping in our doorways and under bridges en masse. That's when our federal government began to dismantle social programs meant for people experiencing homelessness, affordable housing, and the mentally ill. From 1978 to 1983, the federal budget for housing shrank from $83 billion to $18 billion. And mass homelessness in America began. Let's think about that for a second. That's $64 billion annually that we're losing for housing. That's a lot of money. That was then. Those federal cuts have never been restored. And we have turned hundreds of thousands of people out onto the streets. Today, homelessness in America, as many of you know, is at an all-time high. It's a national disgrace. Imagine for a moment being homeless. You are cold, you are wet. Where will you sleep tonight? Will you be safe? Will you be assaulted? Worse yet, will you be sexually assaulted? You ask, why are people staring at me? I used to be one of those people. Your thoughts are racing so fast it's hard to concentrate. Your entire body is tired and tense. You have sleep deprivation. You were told that you're number 522 on a wait list for housing at the local shelter. It's an estimated 2 years that you have to live the hell that is homelessness. And you have become a criminal for no other reason than not having a safe place to call home in your own country. As the director of Street Roots, I'm a journalist and community advocate with more than 20 years of working with people on the streets. I also grew up in poverty. I see people unfortunately struggle every single day. I would like to introduce you to James. James died homeless last year in Portland's Union Station of a drug overdose. And at 42 years old, James had lived a very, very hard life. Holding back tears, Krista, James's mother, talked to me by phone from her home in Florida. Her son had been battling homelessness and addiction for nearly 13 years. Some people might see him as just another homeless junkie, she told me. But Israel, he is an incredible man. He had an incredible heart. He was my precious baby. James left behind a mother, a brother, and 3 daughters. And James was just one of 56 individuals that died on the streets, homeless, in Portland last year. Some days I find myself having an out-of-body experience. standing and looking down at an illogical situation on the streets. A mother with a young child sleeping under a bridge, an elder in a doorway, a family that's just become homeless begs me to help them find housing. By my count, I've sadly witnessed more than 2 entire generations of people pass away on the streets before their time. For many people, Portland is an adult Disneyland, full of hope and opportunity. We are a city on a hill. We are a city of roses. We are a true wonderland. But for others, it is a living hell, a slog where the deathly ill are left in doorways to die, quite literally. In Portland, more than 16,000 people will experience homelessness this year. 1/3 of these people are vulnerable women. 1/3 of those women will experience a sexual assault on the streets. 20% of people sleeping outside are families with nearly 500 small children sleeping outdoors. More than half of people outside are people with severe disabilities. These are our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters, our sons, and our daughters. But Portland is not alone. Tens of thousands of people will sleep on the streets of the West Coast tonight, and hundreds of thousands nationwide. So what can we do? Here are 4 things that I think the steps that we could take to help solve homelessness. Number 1, the next president of the United States should prioritize ending homelessness in America. Number 2, a homeless Bill of Rights. Number 3, new policies to support renters from mass evictions and to help curb rental spikes. And number 4, we need new revenue to support giving our most vulnerable citizens a safe place to call home. On the first point, let's be real. Without real national leadership, we cannot solve this problem. And on the second point, a homeless Bill of Rights to protect the civil and human rights of people experiencing homelessness. People experiencing homelessness are discriminated against every single day of their lives. We need laws to protect their basic rights. These Bill of Rights need to be adopted city by city, state by state, across our country. On the third point, we need new policies that support renters from mass eviction and unfair rent hikes. This has to be the work of all of us, voters, local governments, and state governments. We need rent control. On the fourth point, we need massive investments in affordable housing, since our federal government has largely bailed on the issue. Local communities, and that means all of us in this room, have to face the problem and work to solve it, and we are. Here in Portland and around the country, new models and solutions are being developed. Support for affordable housing is being put to voters for consideration around the country. In San Francisco last year, voters approved a $300 million voter-approved affordable housing package. In Austin, $65 million. In Bellingham, Washington, $21 million. Since 2009, more than a dozen cities and states have passed affordable housing ballot initiatives to support people on the streets. That money goes to support critical homeless services and affordable housing in our communities. And here in Portland, I'm glad to say we've got one under development right now. It's called the Welcome Home Coalition. Woohoo! Come on. It's being assembled by an amazing group of leaders from all sectors of our city. More than 120 organizations have come together to identify a long-term revenue stream for affordable housing. And if we're successful, we'll create thousands of new units for people living in extreme poverty in Portland. We are replicating a successful model, and we hope that it's a model that we can use around our state, around our country, and around the world. And you will be hearing more about it this spring. The reality is, entire generations, many of you in this room, especially people born in the last 20 years, have been born into a time where homelessness in our communities is normal. But like I said at the beginning of my talk, homelessness is anything but normal. People sleeping on our streets is not normal. I want to say that again. Homelessness is not normal. I understand the TED platform is predicated on the idea of sharing new ideas. Housing is not a new idea. But what we need are new ideas and new actions to solve an old problem. We need new and emerging leaders. We need strong and bold legislators. We need courage to build strong coalitions. We need new resources to give people a safe place to call home. So as you leave TEDxPortland today, I ask just a few things of you. First, you can just simply look people experiencing homelessness in the eye. Acknowledge that they are human beings. You can offer people coffee or food or money, even if someone told you it's not okay to do so. Again, they are human beings. There is nothing more powerful in life than the power of human connectivity and love. It's something we all need, and it's something we all have to give. I believe one day we can end homelessness, but we cannot let ourselves become burned out on what we on the streets call compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue is being overwhelmed by so many problems. And let's face it, friends, we have a lot of problems. The Syrian refugee crisis, climate change, who will be our next president? Your neighbor's dog ran away and they need your help right now. And who wouldn't want to help this little fella? With the amount of information coming at us, we all experience compassion fatigue at one time or another. And I believe it is that compassion fatigue that is the greatest threat to ending homelessness in America. But at the end of the day, all of us in this room, friends, are walking on the long road together. We do know how to solve this problem. We have to work with our smarts, our compassion, and our votes. After all, it's housing that gives people an opportunity to build a better life. And to succeed in life, we all need a place to call home. Because the truth is, the one and only answer to ending homelessness is having a home. Thank you.